Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about new construction, specifically why a buyer's agent is so important in the process.
Yeah, everybody loves new construction, right? Brand new house.
Yep.
It's you get all the excited feelings. It's a process to go through.
You get to pick everything you want, the location,
Right.
your lot.
There's just a lot that goes into it,
Yeah.
right? But it's so exciting for people going through it, but it's also very stressful.
Yeah, a lot more work than if you were to buy an existing house.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a lot longer usually.
Yes.
Can't say 100% of the time, but most of the time it's a lot longer process.
Yeah, you might be lucky walk in when they only have a month left and you don't have to do it for very long, but you also lose out on the opportunity of picking the things, and you kind of just have to take whatever they've done. The biggest thing I think people don't realize about in new construction is you find a community you like.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into the model home and there's an agent there. That agent is the builder's agent. They may be nice, they may be great to work with. They're going to try and make sure that your experience is great, but in the end, they're the builder's agent. They are not your agent.
And I think that's very important for everybody to understand.
Yeah.
As real estate agents, as realtors, we have fiduciary duties, and that makes us have to act in your best interests.
Yep.
We have to do things specifically for you.
For our clients.
And so when you have a builder's agent or a sales representative that represents the builder, they're usually in the model home. They're usually the first person you talk to. They have to legally and ethically do what's in the absolute best interest for the builder. And so, like you said, they're going to be nice. They're going to be accommodating.
They'll walk you through the process.
Oh yeah, they'll take you all the way through the process. But once you sign that contract and you don't have an agent representing you, nobody is advocating for you at that point. Nobody is looking
but
out.
Yourself.
Exactly. Nobody's looking out for your best interests.
Yeah.
And some of you may be experts in real estate or new construction, and you may feel 100% comfortable representing yourself, negotiating for yourself, all this type of stuff. But the average person is just not. They're not going to understand what's going on from time to time, and it can become very stressful if any issues arise.
Yeah.
And so that's where we want to start this out. This video today is that you want somebody that's there for you.
For you and only you.
And the thing is, and we'll go right into cost, because that's always on the forefront of everybody's mind.
Everybody has a budget. Everybody knows what they can afford.
Right.
What the lender said you can buy a house for X amount.
But even before that, does it cost anything to have a buyer's agent in new construction? In most cases,
No.
yeah. And so the builders have already built into their pricing structure a commission to pay any buyer's agents. Now, most of the time when you come in to that model home without an agent and you sign a contract with them, they're not cutting out the commission they had set aside for your buyer's agent if you would have had an agent. They're just pocketing the extra profit.
Yeah.
So they're making more money on your deal now than if you were to bring an agent with you.
Yeah.
And so, there are a couple builders that really are not very agent friendly and they won't pay buyer's agents. And maybe in that situation, if you don't have the money to cover an agent for yourself, maybe you go it yourself on that, situation if you can't pay for it. I would also be concerned about what else they're cheaping out on if they're so concerned about not paying their client to have their own representation.
Yeah.
If I was a builder, which I'm not, and so I don't know all the ins and outs, but I would want most of my clients I'm building houses for to make sure they have their own representation so I don't have blowback on the back end.
Yeah.
Lawsuits, stuff like that. You just never know what's going to go on. We have communities here in Utah that are brand new build communities that have had houses fall off cliffs, that have had flood damage with our crazy winter, and they're brand new communities. In that situation, in my opinion, you don't want to be the builder that gets all the blowback. You want the buyer to have their own representative that can help through the process as well and help their buyer understand the process and what went on, because maybe some liability falls back on the buyer's agent's shoulders and off of your shoulders as a builder. We got kind of off on a tangent there, but generally it doesn't cost you more money to have an agent represent you.
The builder generally pays a set amount that they've already decided.
Yeah, and generally from the agent side of it, it can be less than an existing home, but there's still many agents that like doing new construction on the buyer's end. So we've done it several times. We enjoy it, and it's at the end of the day, it's different and it's a fun process. So we love kind of the construction aspect of it, and you've learned so much through it, and it's great. So
you mentioned budget help a little bit. I feel like one of the big things that buyers get caught up in is the emotions of the building process. It's so exciting. You're so excited to pick, to have this new home. You're building it brand new. You walk into the model home and you fall in love with everything they've done in the model home, and that's the house you want. Yeah. And then you get to the design center and they've given you this base price of what your floor plan costs. And then they tell you that the model home costs $200,000 more than that base price with all of the upgrades that they've done in it. And now it's this reality check of trying to manage what upgrades are worth it now, what upgrades could we do later, what are they overcharging me for,
what even fits in your budget. Even if you wanted everything, you may not be approved for everything. So how to make the most of your budget and get what you want in your home as close as possible to what you want, and not feeling that massive reality check and being discouraged, because sometimes that just makes the whole process less enjoyable. I think everybody's gonna feel it, right? Everybody's gonna feel the reality check, but that's a thing that your agent can be there to support you through and to keep you on budget, right? You may be going, I want that, I want that, I want that. And then we're here going, okay, well, you can't have both. Per your budget, you can do one or the other, right? What makes more sense? Let us help you decide what makes more sense as far as what's going to be more advantageous for the future, what's easier to do yourself or easier to do later with another contractor. There's some things that you want to do right when it's being built, and there's other things that can be done later without disturbing much of the house,
which isn't going to add massive extra costs to you. We've had our parents build their houses. Your dad always says he wished he would have extended his third car garage. Well, how do you do that after your home's built? You're now tearing down exterior walls.
It's a major change.
To move your exterior garage door, windows, lots of changes, where it would have cost maybe $10,000 when you were building. You're looking at $50,000. So things like that are massive structural changes, you want to account for in the build process. More so than those cosmetic changes that are easier to do later when you have more budget to do that.
Upgrading doorknobs and things like that are cosmetic surface items. Those can be done relatively cheaply afterwards, even relatively fast afterwards. You can just leave the standard package, right? And then find on Amazon what you really want, or find at another supplier as far as what you want. You just close on the house, you move in, and then you switch out all your fixtures, because a lot of times there's upcharges on fixtures on the upgrades. And in many cases you can find the exact same fixture that the builder is offering at a much lesser price,
cheaper price
later, and things like that are relatively easy to install, that can save you a lot of money. So, but the structural things are really important to do up front, and things like that. So
And that goes into your agent's there to help you with those decisions. What's best in the short term and what's best in the long term. Are you planning on this being your forever home and you don't think you'll move? That may change what choices you make in your home versus if you think, no, this is our starter home or this is our mid home and we're not planning on staying here forever. That could adjust also your long-term plans for resale value and lots of things like that. So that agent is there to help when your emotions maybe take over. They're there logically to be like, we need to think about these things, even though it's not always fun to think about.
Yeah, if you have a plan laid out,
yeah,
we're here to help you stick to that plan.
Stick to that plan, yeah.
Right? So that's good. Another big one that's going to come up is contract understanding.
Yep.
Building contracts are generally different than purchase contracts for an existing structure.
Yes.
Right?
And a lot of builders, they all have their own contracts. It's not a standard one that you might be able to just look up on the internet and read.
Yep.
Every builder is going to have a different contract.
Yep, every company has a different contract and different terms. And this is a big one, is, you know, when you're purchasing an existing home, you know, it's already built, you're buying it from a seller, the purchase contract is very heavily weighed toward buyer's rights.
Buyer's protections of being able to back out if things aren't going correctly or your financing isn't working out.
As a seller, when you put your house on market, it's expected that you've made your decision to sell the property, that you're not going to back out of that sell. And so the purchase contracts really favor the buyers and protect the buyers. There are things that protect sellers, but it's heavily weighted in the buyer's favor.
Yeah.
Now, you're still a buyer, but you're now building a house with a builder. The difference is that most building contracts very favor the builders.
They were written by the builders for the builders.
Yep. And so you have to really understand what you're signing and what all the terms are, because there can be escalation clauses in them that materials go up in cost and you have to cover all of it or a high percentage of it.
And they only have to give you 2 days notice.
Yeah.
And you're expected to come up with extra deposits or things. So you just want to have somebody there that can help you look over that contract and really, really understand what it is you're signing, because it is a legal contract and you are bound to that contract, whether you understood it when you signed it or not.
Yep. And you have to understand that that builder's agent that you met with in the model home the first time is going to minimize a lot of those pieces of the contract that heavily favor the builder. They're going to be like, oh, this is just standard. This is standard here. This is standard here. This is just what it means. Don't worry about it. It hardly ever happens. Those are things that you're going to run into because their job is to try to get contracts signed for the builder.
Yep.
And their interest is to get houses sold for the builder to protect the builder. So they're going to agree with everything in the contract. Whereas, you know, you have your own representation. We can go through it thoroughly. We can explain it all to you. If you have any concerns, we can bring those forward and see if we can get the contract amended in any way or changed.
If you're really worried about anything, we can recommend real estate attorneys, and you can have somebody else look it over and really explain, and maybe they're the ones that are like, no, you need to make this change to better protect yourself.
You know, and when, you know, you find a lot of people think that they come into new construction and the price that the builder's offering is just the price, that there's no negotiation. I think some people realize that there's some opportunity for negotiation, but not as much as there is. And again, this is all market dependent, right? If it's super competitive and they're selling those lots like hotcakes and whatever, they're not going to negotiate with you because they'll sell it to somebody else tomorrow for the terms they want. But if they're sitting on inventory for a little bit and they're having to reduce some prices and some of those things, there's negotiation involved. You know, if you're not comfortable as a negotiator, again, that's where your agent's going to come in. That's where your representative is going to fight for you to get you the best deal possible, whether that's fixing some of those builder favorable terms in the contract, whether it's getting reduced prices, whatever it may be. Again, that's where your representation can help you.
Yeah.
So,
financing.
Yes, big one.
Everybody knows there's lots of lenders out there. Builders have their preferred lenders that they like to work with. And a lot of times the builder's agent will try and push you really hard to use that builder's lender. That doesn't mean that the lender's not a good lender, but...
No, but usually there's some sort of deal that's been
incentive.
established, right, with the construction company and the financing company.
Yeah.
And so they're able to provide some deals or whatever. And so sometimes when you go with the preferred lender for the builder, you do get some discounts.
Yeah, and that's great. Sometimes it's not always the best option for you. Even with the incentives, maybe you don't realize that their rate's a little bit higher because of that incentive, or
they don't have a loan program that may be the best option for you.
Yes.
Not all lenders have access to all loan programs. And so that's something you need to look into. Again, this is where we can come in.
Yeah. And being aware that they may require you to get pre-approved with that lender, but they cannot require you to use that lender to close. Like, you have rights to be able to educate yourself and to pick your own lender. Whether that's theirs or not, you have a choice.
And that requirement to get pre-approved is more just the builder doing their due diligence that you can afford the property.
Or if for some reason your lender drops the ball, they know that their lender can do it quickly. They know how it's done for the builder. Sometimes the appraisers that lender uses just know that community, and they can easily do the appraisals and get worked in. There's lots of reasons why they choose lenders to help them. But
so again, the builder's preferred lender can sometimes be a great option, but can sometimes not be a great option. That's again where we can come in and help advise you on whether to seek second opinions or other lending options that are out there. So financing rolls into communication, right?
Communication is so big on any deal, but especially new construction. There's so many working pieces that go on behind the scenes that people don't realize to make your home come together. And that's a lot of communicating. Some people don't mind taking that on themselves. A lot of people get overwhelmed and don't understand maybe the lingo that the builder using or the agent's using, and it just gets confusing.
The other thing is, you got to remember that if you have a job or you have a husband and wife and you both have jobs, if nobody's available during the day to communicate, you may miss some stuff. The builder may send you an addendum to something on a contract and it has a deadline on it. And if you don't get those things signed by a certain deadline or reviewed or negotiated by a certain deadline, then
miss out on things.
You miss out on things, or you could be in breach of contract, right? And so having a set person there to field all the communication, to make sure everybody is on the same page and understands it all, is huge. And so if you're not willing to take phone calls from the builder's agent or whoever else is staying on top of the deal on their side in the middle of the day, in the morning, whenever, then that's another place that we can be of massive assistance, is being the point of contact, relaying everything back to you on your time frame when it works for you, and letting us handle the stress of that initial communication, because some of that communication is, hey, there's a problem. And when you get that first rate straight from the builder, it can feel like the end of the world. We're used to it. There's a problem on every deal, whether it's new construction or not. We're used to the phone call. Hey, there's an issue. All right, what's an issue? We can deal with it. We can plan, and then we can prepare you to handle it properly after we've already had an opportunity to know what the issue is, start laying out the scenarios that we have in front of us. How do we go about fixing it? How do we overcome it? Stuff like that, and we can now present it to you in a way that's not so overwhelming.
I think sometimes there's an issue. Sometimes it's a minor issue, but the words they use or the way they say it makes it come off way bigger than it is, and it stresses you out. And then if you're at work and you're stuck there all day and all you can do is think about this problem, it just adds so much to your plate that maybe you didn't even need to worry about it all. And a lot of times there comes up issues that we just fix on the back end that our clients never even need to know about, because it wasn't an issue that they had to worry about. We can take care of it.
If it's a signature issue or something like that, that's not a decision-making type of thing. It's more of an administrative type of thing.
Someone's missing a paper.
If you don't have us, you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
If you have us, we may have all the documentation, what they need. They may have lost it, or vice versa. They may have not gotten it to us, and we're requesting the paperwork from them. We deal with it on the back end. You don't know about it. You don't know that paperwork has had some hiccups because it's taken care of.
Take on that stress so that you don't have to stress, and it's not a worry at all, which makes everything much smoother on your end.
Yeah, so the communication and stress management is huge. Taking that off your shoulders is massive, and obviously everybody's going to want a different amount of communication. Yeah. So if you're somebody that wants to be heavily involved, guess what? That's the plan we set up. We update you on everything. Maybe you want daily updates, maybe you want weekly updates, whatever it may be. That's what we get set up for you, and so maybe you want monthly updates and you don't want to think about it outside that month unless we have to contact you. Right. We handle everything during that time. Usually typical is weekly, as far as new construction goes, so.
Extra eyes.
Yeah, huge.
We've talked about this. Buying a home, building a home is so emotional that sometimes it's easy to let your emotions cloud and you miss other things that you otherwise wouldn't have missed. Whether it's in the final walkthrough and you're looking for all the things you want them to fix before you move in, and there's a door jamb that's not installed properly and you don't notice because you're just so excited that your new house is almost done. We're there to be that extra set of eyes for anything during the process.
If you've ever heard of a blue tape walkthrough at the end, okay?
Hours.
If your house is not covered in blue tape, then you're not looking close enough.
Right.
So, thousands of pieces of blue tape, because this is the walkthrough that happens before they do all the final touches.
Yep, before you get to move in.
There's going to be dings in the wall. There's going to be places where the paint is too thin and needs a new coat. There's going to be, cabinets that need realigned or tightened. There's going to be a bunch of things that have to get sewn up right at the end. And when you're so excited at the end, you're walking through and going, this is amazing, I love it, I'm so excited, I get a new house in 5 days.
It's easy to miss those things.
Yeah, but when we're there, we're excited for you, but we get to take a step back and go, okay, what's everything that we need buttoned up before you move in?
You get to move in, so that it really is the best exciting moment possible for you.
So a lot of times when our clients go through during that walkthrough, they point out obvious stuff, right? They're like, yeah, this needs fixed or adjusted, this needs touched up, this is, not installed yet or whatever, and we fall in the background and we're just throwing blue tape all over the place, right? And just, for the things that need taken care of. A windowsill may not be caulked, there's a bunch of things. So those extra eyes, they're massive at the end for something like that, but just all through the process, right? Walk through, several times throughout the process of the build. All right, this was supposed to be done, it's not done. Now we get to put pressure on the builder and you don't have to worry about it. We get to go, hey, this is supposed to be done, we're off schedule. We get to push them to be back on schedule, right? And sometimes there's things out of the builder's control, but that's for us to be able to find out and, and to push them on. And when they have another entity to deal with that's a business entity, it usually makes them put a little bit more focus and concentration into it. And that's, something could have mentioned a little bit earlier, is your agent a lot of agents are going to be backed by big brokerages, right? That are nationwide brokerages that have law divisions and, legal teams. And those legal teams can also be there to support your deal if something were to come up. And builders know that, and so when it's just you as an individual, if anything legally comes up, it may be all on you. Whereas
a lot of people don't like to fight it because they don't know how, or they don't feel like it's worth it. Mm-hmm. Where we've got that team that's really there to help. Yeah,
and so they know if another big corporation's involved, and there's a possibility, even if it's not likely that the corporation's legal team gets involved, if there's a possibility, it keeps people just a little bit more honest and just a little bit more on top of everything, so they don't get into those types of legal battles as far as, business to business or whatnot. So that's a big thing to consider as well, is that you have an agent representing you. You also have their whole company behind you.
Yep.
And so that's a big one to remember.
Yeah. We also have experience with builders. A lot of people don't build a ton of houses in their lifetime. You may build 1, 2, 3 maybe, depending on how much you like to move.
3's a lot.
I know.
You're building, but yeah, most people do 1 or 2.
1 or 2.
Yeah. If that. I mean, I maybe say 1 for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I don't know the statistics, but as far as experience goes, most people have their starter homes and maybe their mid-grade home, and then maybe they build their last home, you know. But some people build them all. But I would say that's a lower percentage of people. I'd say most people are in the 1 to 2 range for sure.
But we have that experience. We've got lots of clients that build houses. We've done the process a lot of times. And we also have relationships with the builders agents and the builders and the people they work with. They don't want to ruin relationships with us. We don't want to ruin them with them. So it's in everyone's best interest to make things as smooth as possible for you.
To work together, right? And just, you know, they know that they're going to have to deal with us again at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So it's not smart to make enemies or to make things rough, because, you know, maybe that can cause issues moving forward on another client, or it can, you know, make another client decide to go with a different builder if they know of stories that happen, or just, you know, we've worked with this builder, these are some things that we experienced, or these are some, you know, what just to be aware of, or these are the things we like about this builder, these aren't, you know, or, you know, we don't have relationships with every single builder.
No.
But there's something to be said that good relationships go a long way.
And we're continually working on building new relationships so that we know a lot of people in the industry, and we can be of better service to our clients through those relationships.
Yeah. I'd say you hear a lot of horror stories about new construction and dealing with it and stuff like that, but I feel like a lot of what you hear can be severely mitigated if that individual would have had representation.
Yeah.
A lot of it is miscommunication, misunderstanding, and just kind of being pushed into things that they were unsure of because they didn't have somebody advocating for themselves.
Yeah.
And so most builders are great. They're fantastic. They provide a good product.
Yep.
You know, we need inventory. We, in this country, specifically in Utah, we need builders. We need them to keep building and to build a lot of stuff. And sometimes they're overloaded. Sometimes they miss things. And that's just another reason why it's good to have somebody like us involved, is just to keep everybody in order, in check, and fight for you within this business transaction.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's emotional, it's your home, but at the end of the day, you're paying money, you're trading a service to somebody else for money, you know, and you want a finished product and you want it to be good. And I think overall the builders want their products to be good.
Yeah.
And so when we have pointed stuff out in the future, most of them are very appreciative in helping them remember something they've missed, or you know, something like that.
Human.
Oh yeah.
We all have our things, but the more people you can have on your side, the better it's going to turn out.
Yeah. So the relationship aspect of it is huge, and the builders like working with agents that they enjoy working with. You know, they're the same way. They can have experiences with really bad buyers agents that are difficult to work with, and you know, that can cause problems the other way, you know, as far as, you know, the builder not wanting to be very negotiable with that client because they're having to deal with a person that makes their life difficult, you know. So overall, it's about making everybody's process as smooth as possible. You know, us helping you throughout the process, us being able to work hand in hand with the builder and their representatives, and so we all meet a happy ending.
Yep.
You know, and you get your great house, the builder gets paid, everybody else gets paid, everybody moves on, we're happy, and it's fantastic.
To enjoy your home.
Right? So, what else do you have before we leave?
I'd just love to know in the comments, like, did you build a home without an agent, and how did it go? How was the builder? I just like to hear people's experiences on how things have worked out. Because it's not to say if you don't use a buyer's agent, it won't turn out okay.
No, it can go good, and you know, it's not guaranteed that you don't use an agent that you're going to run into issues.
Yeah.
But I think what we see is that more issues happen when buyer's agents aren't involved.
Yeah.
Because they're not there to keep checks and balances.
Yep.
Over the course of the process. And so, and it doesn't mean that having a buyer's agent is going to make it perfect either.
No.
There's always issues that are going to come up and things of that nature. And so it's a long business transaction, and it's a long process, and things are going to shift and go up and down. And when you get to the end, you're going to be extremely happy. So because it's over, and the other part because you get a new house.
Right.
But yeah, so I would like to know in the comments of, you know, if you're considering doing new construction, why is that? Is it the style of houses that's kind of popular today in your area? Is it just that you don't want to deal with some of the long-term maintenance that may be coming up on existing houses? You know, what are those things? I think everybody dreams of building a house.
Yeah.
But the process is quite substantial, you know, so it'd be great to hear from everybody.
Yeah.
So with that, have a good day, you know, enjoy, and make sure you subscribe. We'll have more coming next week, and if there's any topics you want us to like go into more detail about, just, you know, shoot us a DM or a comment and we'll get to it eventually. So we just like to get on and chat and tell our experiences, and, you know, thanks for allowing us to do that.
Yep. Thank you.